today I'm going to be doing a story time video about literally sitting right next to a celebrity and I had no idea. All of my friends and family were like, really? Last year in summer, Dalton and I went to VidCon, which is in California. Now, I am from Canada, so we had to fly there. And we flew in and out of LAX, which is one of the biggest airports. Before I left, my mom said to me, keep your eye out for famous people because you are literally in LAX. That's where, what's that place called? TMZ is always like filming celebrities getting in off the planes, and they're gonna look like regular people. They're not gonna be done up. They're gonna have like hats and sunglasses. I'm like, they are regular people. But hey, it would be quite cool to see a celeb. So I was like, okay, let's keep our eyes out. So I'm like looking around. I see nobody, like cricket. We found our terminal. It was actually a shit show trying to find our terminal. On our boarding passes, it said this terminal and this was our flight number and this was the takeoff. So we're like, okay, we're early. We had just came from our meetup and we were like rushing there to be there on time for our flight. We get there, we're like, our flight number's not even on here. What is going on? So we were like stressing out. There was nobody there, no employee at the desk. So we're like, hi, our flight had been delayed and the number was changed. I have no idea what happened. We found everything and got situated and plopped ourselves down, and Dalton was exhausted because he drove, where did we stay again? Anaheim? I think we stayed in Anaheim anyway. And then we drove to Rancho Cucamonga to do the meetup, and then from Rancho Cucamonga we drove to LAX to do our flights. And we had woken up pretty early in the morning to do all this, so Dalton was exhausted, as was I, but he basically like passed out as soon as he sat down in LAX waiting for this plane. I wanted to fall asleep too, but we have all of our luggage, we have laptops, computers and stuff, so I basically had to stay awake, which was fine. I like slipped my latte and was looking through my magazines. And then this couple came and sat down okay, I was sitting at the corner because there was like a charging station. I could charge my phone or whatever, and then Dalton was next to me, and there was all this row that was free, and we were right at the front, like, because we got there super early, obviously, because the plane was delayed and we never knew. Anyway, this couple sat right next to Dalton, like a guy sat right next to Dalton, and then the girls sat next to him. I don't care, like anyone can go anywhere. I don't care, I don't stare at people or whatever, so I'm just like continuing on my day, and literally every single, okay, not every single person, but everyone that would walk by would be looking and pointing and like, oh my god. And I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? Like, is there a cockroach like that's bigger than me? Like, what is happening? Like, is there flying shit behind me? And there was like nothing. It was crickets again, literally. Dalton's like snoring at this point, like passed out, like snoring. He's like on me, flipping over, and like at one point falls over like, and like is resting his head almost directly on this guy's shoulder. And I'm like, okay, Dalton, like wake. Like I would like kind of like push him and nudge him so he'd put his head back, but he like rested his head on this guy's shoulder like probably 4 times, not exaggerating. This guy was like, cool, like bye Felicia. So then people kept walking by and then shaking his hand or just being like, hey man, what's up? Like, I love your work and blah 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 blah, and shakes and he's like, thanks man. Like, and he has all I said, he goes, thanks. And like he would never like smile or be nice to people, and he was just like, thanks, like thanks. And I'm like, what? Like, okay, but this guy's just like really popular, people know. I have a friend who like literally everyone knows him, so I'm kind of like used to that a bit. So I was like, oh whatever, like whatever, flip it through my magazine. And then more people are like, oh my god, and they like said his name, but like I didn't even like clue in at that point. Thank you so much for all your work, like I love you, like I love you, I'm a huge fan. He'd be like, thanks, bye. Like, and I'm like, so I look at this guy. This was like 10 people that had come up and done this, so now I'm starting to notice. I look at this guy and he looks like a regular everyday guy. He has a beautiful girlfriend or wife or whoever she is next to him. His daughter, it could be, I don't know. He has a blue shirt on, his hair's kind of scruffy a bit, and I'm like, I don't recognize him. At the starting, he kind of looked like that guy on Dragon's Den. I forget what his name is, I don't know why, but like the first look at him, I was like, oh my god, it's the guy on Dragon's Den. More people start coming up to him, oh my god, and then I'm like paying attention now, and he has his passport with his boarding pass sticking out of it, so I'm like trying to look at the last name, like, and then I wake up Dalton. I'm like, there's a famous guy like sitting right next to you, and he literally does this because the guy's sitting right here. I'm not joking you. I'm like, there's a famous guy sitting next to you. He's like, who? I'm like, right next to you, like not just like there or there, like sitting directly next to you. He turns, he looks at his face, he goes, no he's not, and then goes back to sleep. I'm like, holy shit, like what? You don't just look at somebody from their appearance, oh no, they're not famous, and go back to sleep. Or just because you don't recognize them, then they're not famous. Like, so I'm like leaning over, like trying to look at his passport, and I'm like zooming my phone in, right? Because I don't want to be like, hi. And by this time I'm texting my mom, texting my dad, being like, there's somebody famous sitting next to me. you were right. And my mom's like, who is it? Who is it? What are the people saying when they're coming up? I'm like, I wasn't paying attention. Now I'm trying to pay attention. So I literally take a picture of this guy. So invasion of privacy. I felt like shit, but I wanted to know who the hell this was. So I'm like this, take a picture of him, send it to my mom. My mom's like, he looks really, really familiar. As I do that, the flight attendant comes up to him, says, we want to assist you and welcome you personally on board on this flight today. Whatever you need will be fully taken care of, whatever it is. And like saying all this, I'm like, what about me? Like, what about this girl behind me or that grandpa there? Like, why just him? Just because I don't know who he is, right? Like, what? Contemplating going up to me, who is he? Now, some of you might be like, first world problems, or like, who cares? Like, some people might be like, who cares? He's just a person. I know, but I wanted to know who it was, you know, like, I'm curious. There's somebody else that comes up and says, thank you, I love you, Brett, so much. I'm like, oh, Brett. So I text my mom, I was like, his first name's Brett. And she's like, oh my God, I think it's Bret Hart. Like, I think that's Bret Hart you're sitting next to. I was like, who? Like, Corey Hart, you mean? Like, I know who Corey Hart is, but I don't know who Bret Hart is. Corey Hart, like, I wear my sunglasses at night so I can. But no, this was not Corey Hart. And then he must be in like first class or something because he's one of the first people to get up. Yes, okay, I took pictures, whatever. My mom's like, definitely that's Bret Hart, Bret the Hitman Hart. And I'm like, who? The hit what? What is he hitting and why is he hitting men? I'll read you guys Wikipedia. It says Bret Hart is a Canadian writer, actor, and retired professional wrestler. A member of the Hart wrestling family and a second-generation wrestler. So basically, he is a wrestler and his like nickname is the Hitman, so he's Bret the Hitman Hart. And when I was looking at his pictures, like that's what's on Google, and that did not look any familiar to the guy that I was sitting beside, but obviously because he's aged, we all age. I don't really watch wrestling. I've never really been a wrestling fan. Wrestling? I'm not saying I don't like it, I just never really got into it. And then I understood because I was saying to my mom, like, he was actually, it seemed like he was being rude to people because people were like, I love you so much, thank you so much, and like shaking his hand, he'd just be like, yep, yep. Like, yep. And I'm like, this guy's like kind of mean, you know? But then I understood why. Because there were so many people coming up to him. It's LAX. He's just literally trying to go to Calgary with his wife or whoever it was sitting next to him. And he doesn't really want to cause a scene, I thought. Like, that's what I got out of him. Because when we were going on aboard the plane and he was there, he was only a few rows in front of us. He was talking to one of the flight attendants there, a different flight attendant, and he was actually being really kind and respectful. And he's like, thank you so much. And I just try to like keep to myself. I think that's what he said. So I did understand that, and that made me have respect for him, even though I had like never met him or anything. I just like, my first impression of him was he was quite short with people, to people like they were trying to express their moods to him. When people come up to me, for instance, I'm like, oh my God, thank you, like we can take a picture, I can do whatever you want, like thank you so much for, you know, like watching me and, you know, making me where I am today. But his was like, yeah, thanks. And I kind of was turned off, but then I understood why after, because, you know, he's just trying to get home. He's a huge celebrity, obviously. Professional wrestling is huge. You know, he's just trying to be a regular person and go home. I never said hi, I never took a picture with him or anything, but Dalton passed out on his shoulder. But all in all, I thought he was a pretty respectful guy. That was my story. So that is the celebrity with pictures that I sat beside and had no idea what was going on. I hope you guys liked that video or story time. Thumbs this up if you guys want more storytime videos. My storytime videos are 100% true, and I'm glad I could show you guys pictures with this one because I was actually just going through my phone, scrolling through my phone and found these. I'm like, oh my God, I should do a story time. I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys all in my next video. Mwah! Bye, cuties!